Miss Purple, the right mind for any time. I created this podcast to raise the awareness of mental illness. If you have any of these symptoms, notify your physician or call 911. Another suicide hotline is nationwide is 988. Thank you.
Well, hello and welcome to The Right Mind for Any Time. My name is Deidra Howard. I'm a nurse practitioner. I specialize in family nurse practitioner and also a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. This is the podcast that was created by Deborah Ann Sanders, who's been in psych for 30 plus years. She's better known in the psych community as Miss Purple. And I have with me another psychiatric expert. I have here with Miss Aneka Simpson. She's also a family nurse practitioner as well as a psychiatric nurse practitioner. Say hello, Miss Aneka.
Hello, and good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Aneka Simpson. I'm a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner, and I've been in psych now for over 10 years.
Awesome. Time has gone by, huh?
Yes, it has.
So we've gotten a lot of experience for me the past 30 years. LAC USC is just one of the various hospitals that I've worked. We worked in that emergency room for, like she said, for many years. And today, one of our topics that we thought that we need to bring to light in our community is suicide. There's a suicide crisis in our community that we're not even aware of, and it's affecting our youth, people of younger ages. And historically, you can't really even get data, Aneka, on suicide, because historically people of Black and brown didn't really commit suicide. And so now we're seeing over the past, 15 years, a steep incline in patients being admitted, especially the youth, people under, I would say, 25, 30, down to children that we see being admitted for suicidal ideations or the attempt to take their life. So suicide is defined as an intentional attempt to take or end one's life. And as we look at it, I think one of the reasons why I thought it was important is because sometimes we miss the symptoms of that outcry, of that person that comes to you and says, hey, I think this world would just be better off without me. Or, I just can't take another day of this. Or we think that person is so strong because they're beautiful. Or we say in our culture, they have it going on. And they have the nice car, they have the nice family, the nice husband. They have all the things that we consider success in our culture. And the next thing we know, that they've taken their life. And we see, for me, I'm not an internet person, but I'm starting to see posts on Facebook of beautiful young women that have taken their lives. And it's just shocking to the family, to the friends, to the community, because we just didn't see it coming. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it is a shocking, and there's some stats out there, don't quote me on them, but I know suicide has taken the lead over cancer, suicide in teens. So it's up there in the top 5 ways of, people that, are losing their lives, and it's up there. And years ago, it wasn't even, on the list at all. Mm-hmm. And so I've worked in the psychiatric emergency room with adults. I've also worked in outpatient settings with adolescents. And the thing about what I've noticed and discovered with the adolescents is that a lot of things that they experience and that they go through, over 90% of it is dealing with issues from home. So a lot of times they can't cope with things like adults can, and they don't know. They feel like there's no way out. There's no other way. And they will show signs of, before they even get to the suicidal point, they will show signs of behavioral issues. Parents will have a lot of behavioral issues with them. They will show signs of isolation. They will show signs of giving away things that are precious to them. They will either not eat or eat more of something. They will lack sleep, or they will sleep more. They will start using substances to counteract that feeling that they have, whether it be drinking or taking pills or, using different types of substances to get rid of the feelings. So they don't know how to cope with what they've been going through. And a lot of times what I kind of tell parents is that just pay attention to the signs, and also just be there for your child. Be supportive, because a lot of times we as parents, we try to force our children into doing certain things because that's how we grew up. Oh, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. But if you start seeing your child show resistance, you need to take the time to listen and talk to your child and find out, what is it that you want to do? I want to support you. If you're not ready to go to a 4-year university when you graduate from high school, that's fine. You want to go to a junior college, if that's what you want to do, I support you. If you want to take a gap year, I'll support you. If you want to work first, I'll support you. We as parents have to support our children and not be overbearing and pushing them to things that we want for them. Because a lot of times if they don't know how to cope with that, they'll go into depression and they'll go into rebelliousness and things of that nature. So you have to look at the signs with your children, and even those that are around you. If they're having the behavioral issues at school, they might not want to talk to you because they feel like you're my parent, you don't understand. Well, then in that case, you should get them some therapy, some help, some support. And a lot of people say, oh, I've tried that, it doesn't work. Well, one thing that I explain to parents and children is that there's so many therapists out there. So if one therapist doesn't work, look for another one, because you will meet someone that will meet your needs. Don't give up. I tell parents all the time, don't give up on your kids. Just keep on, just be supportive. Try not to get frustrated, and just be supportive, because one thing I've noticed with kids that have committed suicide, the last thing that they've heard, that word could either make them or break them. So if you're constantly nagging at your kids, telling them, go do this, I told you to do this, I told you to do that, and then all of a sudden they commit suicide and they leave a note, then that's because you never took the time to listen to them, to see, hey, what is it that you need? What is it that you want? How can I help you? So always be encouraging to the youth, to the adolescents, to your children, to whoever the kids that's in your life. Be encouraging, let them know that they can do anything, they can overcome anything, and if whatever help they need, just try to get them the help that they need, whether it be you or a therapist, a family therapist, church services, whatever it is that you can do to help your kids.
Awesome. I read an article that stated most persons thinking of suicide, they really want help to stay alive, because suicide is like that last point of no return. So people think of suicide, they find ways to invite help from others. However, it's these subtle cues, these subtle invitations that are so often missed. And I just wanted to talk about some of the signs and symptoms, like you touched on most of them eloquently. Thank you so much for that. So some of the signs and symptoms that we may observe in a person, and I like to put things in layman's terms, and sometimes we'll say that person just ain't acting right. They're not returning my phone calls. They're not responding to text messages promptly. They're withdrawn. They've become isolated. They stay in their rooms. They may just make you want to talk to them. The answers are vague and they're very distant. Like you said, alcohol or any type of substance use or misuse. They want to be alone. They feel like they may be a burden. We'll see changes in hygiene, because it becomes difficult to brush or comb your hair and brush your teeth and things of that nature. Changes in sleep patterns. Joyce talked about that. In the adult or the young adult, we'll see that they're missing work. They've had a really great job or started their career early, and now they're just not going to work anymore. They may start engaging in self-harm. We see this a lot among children and teens, the cutting, the burning, the picking of skin, pulling out lashes, pulling out their hair. Could be also signs of depression. Feelings of hopelessness, feelings of being desperate, ashamed. It may be a history of abuse. I read an article that people who are suicidal, they find that have come from or maybe from a violent past or background. It might have been domestic violence in the home or an absent parent that had to work. Now in our economy, parents have to work 2 jobs, maybe 3 jobs. And so, sometimes that absenteeism makes a child feel like they're not loved, when in actuality, the big picture is, you really love, and part of that love is me having to keep this roof over your head. And sometimes we don't convey that message to the children because they're home alone with an older sibling or whatever, with aunt or whatever, and this, feelings of abandonment, feelings of rejection, multiple losses. With COVID, we saw, a spike in suicide, people feeling isolated, they can't communicate, they can't socialize, or they've experienced death of significant others. A lot of us lost elderly people in our family. We had multiple losses. So losses is another one. And like you said, start giving away prized possessions. You may have seen your aunt or your friend had a beautiful bracelet, and she never let anybody wear it or touch it. She really loved it, and then one day she gives it to you. Here, take this. I'm not going to need it anymore. Well, that's an invite to a suicide invite. So the response would be, oh, thank you. Not thank you, girl, for this beautiful bracelet, but why won't you need it anymore? Why are you giving me, you love this bracelet. Why won't you need this bracelet anymore? And open up that door to talk. Use open-ended questions or responses. And the most important thing, like you said, for the children, just listen without judgment.
Right.
Because you don't know how they feel. You don't know what someone's been through or how they're perceiving life events. So that's great. And so we need to start paying closer attention to our loved ones. And I always say, especially those that everybody looks for support. That one with everybody think they got the S on the chest. They're the one the whole family go to for help. Who's helping the superwoman or superman in your life? Because those are the ones that will be quiet and silent. They'll be withdrawn, and the next thing you know, they're gone. And we've missed it. You know what I mean? And so we need to be active listeners. Some of the barriers to people intervening that I found in an article was, number one, they don't think this person would ever take their life. Because one, they're not crazy. There's no psych background. Why would they do that? They don't connect the two. They don't take the person's feelings seriously. Like, oh, they just tripping. And they just going through something, girl, they be all right. They're going to always be all right. They don't connect the suicide or the suicidal ideations to the person's feelings, or they couldn't possibly feel like that. I know she said she was depressed because this, that, and that, but she couldn't possibly want to hurt herself. So, they don't take that seriously. Or we have a thing where we think only certain kinds of people would do something like that. So we miss it. Or I have time for your problems. I'm busy. I got my kids. I got my life, things I'm going through. And I don't have time, or they're afraid. Because maybe if I talk to her about her depression and suicide, it might make it worse. Or I don't know what to say. What do I say?
Stigma.
Yes. And so we have these that are in our culture, this avoidance, because we don't know how to engage. And so I found a wonderful program that would help you be trained and engaged, because we don't treat mental health issues with the emergent status that they require. So I always tell people, if you were having chest pain and you couldn't breathe, thought you were having a heart attack, what do? You call 911, right? If you were eating and someone's mouth started to droop to the side and they couldn't talk, what would you do? If they're having a stroke, we call 911. But when someone's coping skills have failed them, and they're saying they don't want to make it till tomorrow, or they're very depressed, they've been withdrawn, we don't see that as a psychiatric emergency, and it very much is. Even in children, oh, they're just acting out, they just want attention. And we don't take them serious, but these are symptoms that we need to get emergent care. So Aneka, tell us, where can we get emergent care in LA County?
Oh, you can call 911 for one. You can go to your nearest emergency room, wherever you are. You can call the Los Angeles County Department of Mental Health. They have a psychiatric PMRT team, which is Psychiatric Mobile Response Team. And that number is 800-854-7771. Again, that's 800-854-7771. You can call that number for any type of resources, whether you need a therapist, whether you need urgent care services, whether you need psychiatric mobile response unit, and they would get you directed to the right people. We also have what's called Exodus Urgent Care Centers throughout Los Angeles County. You can call or just walk right into one of those locations. So there's plenty of resources out here. They have the suicide helpline, which is the same as almost what I've given you. So the thing is, don't delay, don't wait. Even it's better to check it out than to let it go by, because our issue and our problem is we underreport because we like, oh, it's nothing. But just look at it as it's better to say something than say nothing.
Excellent. And I just want to give a few more numbers if I can. LA County, they have the Human Service Hotline, which is a 211 number. I found out over the weekend that the National Suicide number has been changed to 988, and you can call or text.
Oh,
I
great.
didn't know that. That's something that just occurred. And so there's another National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, and that number is 1-800-273-8255. Again, the number is 1-800-273-8255. And it has here that veterans just have to press 1. They have a teen response line, and it's 1-800-852-8336. And they have a California Youth Crisis line, and it's 1-800-843-5200, and that line is bilingual. There's also a Soldiers Project for our veterans who are in crisis, and that number is 877-576-5343. And we have a Asian Pacific Counseling and Treatment Centers line, and it is 213-252-2100. And for our LGBG community, we have a hotline number, and it's 323-993-7400. And it's to the Los Angeles Gay and Lesbian Center. And again, that number is 323-993-7400. It's been a pleasure working with you today, Aneka, on Mrs. Purple's podcast. I hope that this information will help somebody to save a life. And we thank you, and you guys have a blessed day. And remember, we need to just listen.
Yes. Thank you.